welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Tim.
I'm Juliet.
We got another of our monthly design challenges. This is like our big community interaction episode every month. We get a whole bunch of cards submitted from all of you for a challenge designed by us. What was your challenge this time around?
The challenge I put forward this time for January is first of its kind. It's the first month of the year. Design a card introducing a new creature type into Magic. A thing that a lot of us have, like, oh, hey, this creature that I would love to see seen as like a mechanical word in Magic. And then we have some bonus points here. Mark 1, make it an artifact. And Mach 1, have it have haste somewhere in its rules text.
This is like a really open one. We could get a huge variety of cards. They're probably not going to have a lot of overlap with each other. And then I guess the main sorts of things we're looking for are like, how cool is that type? Does it feel like we're adding something new? Is it more of like a funny thing? We'll always get a couple of kind of goofballs. And then also, what other things could you do with this type? Could you imagine designing like 2 more cards with this, 1,000 more cards with this? Would a set have 20 of these in it? Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Or would every set from now on have 1 of this, which is, I think, another.
Yeah. We had like robot in one of the unsets, and now it's like, it's going to be an Aether Spark is going to have robots. You're out on the robots?
I'm pro on Aether Drift, but I am anti on both the robot type and the design of the particular robots in particular.
Oh, you're out on the little Wallies. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe this new type will be better. It is from our first submitter, Crypt Rat. Always lightning fast on these submissions. This one is Chef's Guide. Uh-oh, I have a suspicion where this is going. Chef's Guide. It's a black mana for a creature rat familiar. It's a 1/1. 1 mana, 1/1. When this creature enters, create a food token. Whenever you sacrifice a food, surveil 2. So familiar is our new type.
Yeah.
And we got Ratatouille.
This is definitely a Remy from Ratatouille, the rat of all my dreams, as they say. Do you know what the Ratatouille musical? We don't need to get into it. I think this is mostly just like a short video joke during COVID. But this is neat in that it's kind of giving you a reason to sacrifice the food sooner than later, even if you don't really need the life.
Yeah.
It's kind of, what is it? Thraben Inspector and the new.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In that it's a 1-drop, you get the token, you might be using the token for artifact things, or on turn 2, if there's like a gap in things, or you're like, the instant you're picking up isn't going to be something that you have to fire off on turn 2, then you just spend the mana into the food. And in this case, Surveil 2, you're kind of lining up your draws for future turns.
Yeah, this is almost kind of like in the same zone as like cycling cards, where I could play this early and know that I can get to the cards that I need early on in the game. If I only have 2 lands while I crack this food, I'm pretty likely I get 3 looks at a land for next turn. Rat Familiar, I kind of like Familiar as a type here. I think Familiar helps convey that there's something about the creature. It's not quite a job. It's not saying that this is a rat person. This is still like mostly animal, not a familiar is usually can speak maybe, or is intelligent at least. Yeah, I think Familiar is a good fit for a creature type.
I totally agree. I wonder if Strixhaven didn't end up going into both pests as an idea and mascots as these kind of unified tokens. If we would have seen like familiars as a specific sort of card, or maybe if we'll see in future Arcavios kind of Strixhaven-y things.
Yeah.
There's a world where familiar is a keyword and it does some little bonusy thing, but I like it as a type. I think it's simple. It makes sense. You don't need to change every card in the past, but all the ones that have familiar in their title, you might as well just add familiar to their type.
Yeah. Just for a like a Santa gift swap thing, we built commander decks for each other, and I built Chea, Friend to Maybe Too Many, which is a playtest card. And her whole thing is familiar spells you cast have flash. And
Mm.
their familiar is a list that's spelled out. Bats, birds,
Mhm.
cats, dragons, fairies, foxes, frogs, imps, lizards, and spiders are familiars, as well as any creature with familiar in its name. Well, maybe what we can do is just, back populate the ones that should be familiars. Then Shea
Mhm.
becomes a black border card again.
I think one other thing to think about when introducing new creature types is if you add stuff that kind of exists in the class sort of space,
Yeah.
if you add additional words that probably aren't going to be a creature type on their own, you need to watch out for, are creatures going to want this alongside what we typically call like a race and class, and then potentially be dealing with like legendary creature,
Oh,
octopus, familiar knight. You know what I mean? Like we
yeah.
don't need to have like the whole length of things. And familiar is neat that most of the time we wouldn't be seeing rat familiar soldier archer. Like it's gonna be it's gonna be rat
Yeah.
familiar and not having a second kind of class on top of
Yeah.
it.
I've seen people talk about that with like noble. Like it feels like a lot
Mhm.
more cards should have noble in their type line, but like it's just too full sometimes. But yeah, with familiar, it's unlikely to be more than just like an animal species and familiar. We're not likely to
Mhm.
stack like knight or other stuff on top. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, great card. Just another super solid crypt rat card as usual.
Mhm.
And a rat as well.
Our next mission is from Ortwi. It's Mechanical Sage.
Hmm.
It's a 1/1 for 1 and a blue mana. It's a rare artifact creature robot scholar. It has cunning. This creature can activate its abilities as though it had haste. And if you would mill or discard a card, you may exile it with a memory counter instead. And then pay 1 blue mana and tap. Put target card you own in exile with a memory counter on it into your hand.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I guess we get the bonus point here because we have haste and we have an artifact creature.
Mhm. So this can tap as soon as it enters to do this ability, but you need to figure out some way to mill or
Hmm.
discard after this has entered in order for that like haste on the tap ability to matter, because you need to get a card in exile with a memory counter unless you have other cards that are already going to be exiling things with memory counters. As a rare, it's hard to say, is this going to be
Hmm.
siloed to just this card, or is this going
Oh
to be
yeah.
a mechanic seen throughout, a color pair or something?
Yeah, it doesn't enable itself at all. And it's mill or discard, which I would say are not every game actions. Like you're
Mhm.
not automatically going to be milling cards. You're not naturally going to be discarding cards that often. So you have to do something to work with this. There's a card that I've seen people playing Commander, Containment Construct, which is like a Kamigawa card. Whenever you discard a card, you may exile that card from your graveyard. If you do, you may play that card this turn.
Mhm.
And that card's been fun and popular. So I think that this Mechanical Sage has a similar place where it could fit in a wide variety of decks that all either care about milling or discarding.
Yeah. I'm a little like hesitant about how much this lets mono blue do some like recursive sort of things, but the fact that you're like milling
Yeah.
and discarding, blue can kind of do the things in those spaces anyways. It's a little less like this is just card selection from your library in a sort of sense.
Yeah. It's not quite so much like I'm going to recast the same spell over and over.
Hmm.
It's not like full, like just grabbing cards out of your graveyard.
It definitely powers up if you have cards with channel or cycling that like
Yeah.
cycle to do a
Oh, that's
spell
true.
like
Yeah.
ability.
When you cycle this, target creature gets -2, -2.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. And then we got Cunning here, a new sort of like subset of haste.
Hmm.
It's only activated abilities haste.
What we might
Um,
call a 1,000-year elixir
there you go. Yeah, yeah.
ability.
For 1,000 years, I've waited for this keyword.
That's an old Lorwyn artifact that gave this ability to your
I
creature.
knew it was like Eventide or something. Yeah,
Mhm,
absolutely.
mhm.
I guess you'd want a set where you wanted to have a lot of activated abilities. It's Blue Cunning feels a little marginal, like just a worse version of something But I mean, we have like reach, which is a kind of a worse version of flying.
Hmm. I think there's a world where we see more keywording of timing-based restrictions,
Hmm.
both hey, this can only activate things as sorcery speed. Hey,
Hmm.
we finally keyword that the way we finally
Yeah.
keyworded mill. And like
Okay.
this could be the sort of thing that, hey, it comes up on 1 or 2 cards a set. We're always going to spell it out, but like that way a thing can give a creature cunning
Hmm.
rather than needing to like
Hmm.
spell out the sort of thing. It's really tap abilities that we've got to, because it's haste, not flash.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. It's easier to hand out. Like
Mhm.
haste even looks weird when it's used correctly on like a blue card or whatever. Coming out of suspend
Exactly.
while we give it haste. Well, that's kind of bizarre.
Mhm.
But cunning. I don't think we have as many reservations about handing out cunning.
Yeah.
I guess maybe kind of like flying and reach. Blue can't get haste, but it can get cunning.
The purpose of a tap symbol is to say once per turn cycle
Hmm.
and can't do it as soon as it enters the battlefield.
Hmm. Hmm.
If instead we see more activate this only once per turn and then not having the tap restriction on it
Hmm.
because, oh, I didn't get to attack in with my 1/1 or I didn't get to block with
Hmm.
my 1/1, I probably wasn't going to do that anyways. And so if we kind of remove the like haste part and instead say pay a blue mana, put target card you own in exile with memory counter on it into your hand, activate this only once
Hmm.
per turn, or activate this only like during your upkeep, or some other restriction like that to get to the idea of once per turn, including the first turn you play it.
Hmm. I have run into the idea that like some designs just aren't as fun because they have a tap ability just sort of for tracking purpose. I like tapping. I think
Hmm.
tapping's like a great mechanic and I kind of wish there was more tapping, but like
Hmm.
some cards just don't totally work or aren't as cool because you have to wait a return cycle for them to activate, even if it's not a power level thing.
Yeah.
We got Scholar here. Scholar instead of Advisor or something that creatures might be if they're nerds or librarians or whatever.
After the like grand creature type update and
Yeah.
everything, most things in the like sage space became
Hmm.
wizards.
Wizards, yeah. Okay.
Scholar can hit a lot of places that wizard is a little imprecise, or that
Hmm.
like sages have become mostly wizards and then also sometimes monks,
Hmm.
especially in like the white or green sort of
Sure.
sage
Yeah.
space. I think scholar may be equally imprecise in some ways, but add a little bit more accuracy to the things in hitting a different flavor space than, if I say scholars you control get whatever, that is a pretty different thing than wizards or
Hmm.
monks you control getting a thing. But then we get into, okay, well, what are wizards? Are wizards spellcasters, or are wizards spellcasters who go to a very specific school to learn spellcasting?
Hmm. I would say that Scholar says to me studies a lot, but isn't necessarily throwing fireballs around,
Hmm.
but instead is more about, I don't know, just learning or studying or rummaging through things.
Hmm. The goal is the knowledge, not the goal being the
Yeah.
power.
Not shooting a lightning bolt. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. That was another great one. Next up from Oreo Orca, or as they're going by now, Auxiliary Otter. I'm loving this like sea creature theme. And they're continuing that with another water creature, Unexpected Platypus. That's the name of the card. That's not my reaction. So I guess it's both. It's a blue mana for a 1/2 creature platypus. It has flash, and then for a green mana, this creature gains death touch until end of turn. Oh wow! And the flavor text: they don't do much. That's kind of dismissive. You see how much they do when they're poisoning you to death, I guess.
Do you know
Uh,
this about platypuses? About platypi?
I knew they were dangerous for some reason. I don't know if I could have told you that they could kill you like that.
They have these venomous barbs that
Oh.
are pretty neat.
How
It,
if you're building an animal, how
Mhm.
difficult is it to get poisonous in there? Do you have to like completely go design from scratch if you design an animal to get poisons in there?
That's a really interesting question. And We could probably spend like an hour or two like exploring because like the thing is I try not to be like an Evo Devo person. Someone
Sure.
who really focuses on like evolutionary development,
Yeah. Yeah.
but platypi are very neat and how strange they are compared to most other things. Like how many
Yeah.
mammals do you know that have venom?
Yeah.
And so as a egg laying,
Yeah.
as a monotreme and everything, honestly, this is a very fun find for like the flavor and the mechanics matching
Hmm.
up. It's unexpected as flash single blue mana for 1/2. Sometimes that'll catch like a token or something, but this can also block as a removal spell if you
Yeah.
have like green and
Blue
blue
green.
mana
Yeah.
available.
Yeah. And we've seen like, 1/1 flying Death Touch Simic cards or whatever. Like that's existed.
Mhm.
This has flash instead. This does feel like some card that was in Born of the Gods that I forgot about. Like some card that they just wanted to throw a weird creature type in there. As unexpected as a platypus was to this challenge, I think it's a plausible as a magic card.
One thing I like from, the 3 cards that we've seen so far, 2 of them have gone away from the bonus points,
Yeah.
and I wanna give, like, thumbs up to both Unexpected
Yeah.
Platypus and our chef's guide for hitting the main point in a really strong way and
Yeah.
not being distracted. Like, it's
Yeah.
great when you hit the bonus point, but not contorting the card or worsening the design to get there.
Yeah.
An unexpected fact about, platypi,
Yeah.
I sleep with a stuffed platypus.
Oh, okay. Oh, we're getting Juliet lore.
I have like since I was a kid. It's just like
Oh.
everybody's got like a thing like that, and that's
Yeah.
that's one of mine.
I can look over into my closet and see the teddy bear when I was a kid that my parents found for me, so I understand.
Mhm.
Yeah, platypus. We're kind of 3 for 3 on cool cards here.
Yeah.
What's our next one?
Our next submission is from VT Base Mat.
Ooh, is this a no
Pew
submitter?
pew
Bop, bop,
pew.
bop, 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 bop.
The card is 2 mana for a colorless artifact creature microbe. The name of the card is Unexpected Results.
Hmm.
So it's a common 2 generic mana artifact creature microbe. This creature's power and toughness are each equal to epsilon.
Hmm.
Epsilon is, or the symbol for epsilon, and it
Okay.
says
Yeah.
epsilon, a tiny number just barely above 0. If this creature somehow gets +1/+1, its power and toughness are just 1/1. And then it has spend 1 mana, tap, regenerate target creature. If it's your turn, untap that creature, and it gains haste until end of turn.
Unexpected results. The first set of technology here, I think is pretty cool.
Mhm.
This epsilon power and toughness, just barely above 0, so it can exist. I don't think it would ever deal lethal damage or anything. I guess if you had Death Touch and Epsilon power, that would probably be lethal, right?
Yes.
If you blocked 100 microbes on 1/1/1, you wouldn't kill it, right? Because it's a
Right. Mhm. That also hits like microbes, right? Like
yeah.
you can be bombarded with like thousands of microbes and you're fine, but if one of them has death touch, like it can hurt you.
I don't know exactly
Mhm.
how big Epsilon really is. I'm not that much of a math person, but
Mhm.
it does seem possible that someone will make the Reddit post explaining how you could actually kill a 1/1 using this card.
I'm guessing that it doesn't actually like it isn't a specific number. It's
Okay.
like a
Oh.
relationship to 0
Okay. Okay.
because it's impossible to get what is the number that is just above 0? Well, that's
Hmm.
literally impossible unless you define like
Hmm.
the counting system. I mean,
Okay.
like the integer just above 0, that one's easy. That's 1. But this is similar to what is 1 minus 0.999 repeating?
Yeah.
The answer to that is 0, despite the fact that 1 and 0.999
Yeah.
repeating
Okay.
look very different. You can't ever find the difference
Hmm.
between the 2 because, like, it will keep escaping your grasp until it becomes 0. Not being a pure math person, I don't know much about Epsilon. I've not encountered
Okay.
it before, but I would guess that it kind of represents, hey, what's the smallest thing that you could find? It is whatever your system. And as your system gets more able to show smaller things,
Yeah.
Epsilon gets smaller and smaller and smaller.
And then we have this sort of two function ability, I guess. One in tap,
Mhm.
regenerate target creature. If it's your turn, untap that creature and it gains haste until end of turn. Do you think it has to regenerate to get the haste? Or do I always get the untap and haste even if the creature isn't dying?
That's an interesting question that gets into some of the weeds around
Okay.
like regenerate abilities and
Yeah.
the old, what is it? There's like a regenerate that lets you steal the creature.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, Debt of Loyalty. You gain control of that creature if it regenerates this way.
Hmm.
Depending on what VT base map was looking for. Because I don't know, like if you could just delete the regenerate target creature from this card, and this is still like a
Hmm.
very useful thing to be able to do, like a colorless haste enabler, like some
Hmm.
boots or whatever. We got microbe. Love this epsilon technology. I like the clean thing. Like once once you get any buff, we're just epsilon disintegrates, and you're just whatever that buff is. That's somehow I think that's the really appealing part to me.
Hmm. If we both have microbes
Yeah.
and my microbe has gotten +1/+1 and you have a 1/1 like soldier or
Oh,
whatever,
okay. Yeah.
if I attack in with my 1 plus epsilon, attacker, and you block with both a 1/1 soldier token and an epsilon, like, can I kill them both?
No, you can't. I think this says like you're just locked at 1/1 once you but once you're buffed, you're just whatever that buff is.
The tap ability really says, "Don't use this in combat. This is for this is for modifying other things while still
Yeah.
being targetable by creature removal."
I think I've also just wanted the ability for like blue to shrink things such that they are irrelevant but not kill them.
Sure.
Because like if
Mhm,
you say like I want to give you -10, but not actually kill you, or like if I turn a creature into a 1/1, that's still like a thing. But if I can turn you a teeny little gnat, a teeny little microbe, this epsilon technology can get us there.
yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
All right, next up from Pat. Oh, we got another Pat special. Some hand drawn artwork here for Goblin Sculptor. This is 1 red, 4 mana for a 3/3 creature Goblin Artisan. Shout out to
Yay!
Yay, the old blog. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. If it's a Goblin creature card, you lose life equal to its mana value and create a token that's a copy of it, except it has haste and it's a sculpture in addition to its other types. At the beginning of your end step, sacrifice all sculptures you control.
Mm.
You always exile that top card. If it's not a goblin, it just gets exiled and forget about it. But if it is a goblin, you lose a little bit of life, and then you get that goblin for this turn.
And then you don't draw that goblin, so, it gets exiled, and then we're kind of token, and then the token dissipates.
Yeah, yeah. A goblin deck might be 60% goblins or so. So I have a decent chance of hitting something. I wouldn't associate that like the goblins that I'm getting are going to be that impactful, but maybe there are enough good goblins these days. There's enough lores, there's enough goblins with cool abilities that just getting those goblins for one turn really matters. I spray out a couple early tokens and stuff before I land the sculptor. Then once the sculptor's out, I'm just raining more and more and more goblins.
Mhm. Given the number of, like, explosive goblin cards,
Hmm.
the number of cards
Okay.
that just like, "Hey, we're gonna look at a bunch of cards in your library and just put any of the goblins into your hand,"
Hmm.
or we're going to, whenever I deal damage, put a goblin creature from your hand onto the battlefield, or any
Yeah.
creature
Yeah.
on top of your library, we're gonna like snoop
Yeah.
and be able to just copy all of the abilities of, or be a copy of. This seems in the like fun, safe, fair,
Yeah.
what I would think of old-fashioned ways, like a core set card in the modern
Hmm.
era, like a commander card. Like, it doesn't have
Yeah.
to only be in a commander product, but
Yeah.
this is for people to play around with when they aren't trying to break things.
The upside of this doesn't feel that high, but it does seem like it's fun and it's doing things. And it's got some cool art. Bad Drews.
Mhm.
kind of MS Paint looking goblin in a toga holding a chisel, and then a kind of misshapen goblin statue.
I mean, honestly, since you don't really control the top card of your library
Yeah.
and you're losing the life,
Yeah.
we could even have like at the beginning of your end step, pay for each sculpture you control, pay 1 mana or pay 2 mana or sacrifice it. Like that there's some cost to keeping the sculptures around, but that there's like a way that you can keep some sculptures around. You just can't keep all of like it's gonna be an increase in cost instead of a sacrifice like smash the sculpture every end step.
Yeah. An artisan is more of a novelty type to me. I mean, it is great to see on this card.
Mhm.
Or, Theros, maybe we'd have a couple artisans.
If we saw more artisans, we might see a decrease in artificers.
Yeah, how much does that overlap?
It's one of those sort of open questions of, well, what is magic as a game depicting? Is it depicting like people living in particular planes or going through particular experiences? Like, is it depicting like the culture and life and conflicts of a given plane or whatever?
Hmm.
Or is it a game of like summoning the people who do the battles for you? Because there's a lot of things that would fit like, hey, here's this basket weaver. To be like, great, this is an artisan. Is it
Mhm.
ever going to show up in the card, even if it is in like the magic story, or if it's like, well, this obviously exists in this world,
Hmm.
but do cards only ever make the translation to be cards when they can have some impact in like the fight between planeswalkers?
Yeah. Hmm.
This is a it has haste
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's the sculpture isn't an artifact, but it has artifact vibes to it. So,
Hmm.
this is also is this introducing sculpture as a type?
There's like one card that was flavored as making sculptures. I'm not sure.
Yes.
Maybe
No, there is yeah. This is not introducing sculpture. Sculpture pre-exists.
Doomed Artisan. Another artisan card.
This is a card that is fun for people who want to play a fun goblin deck.
Alrighty.
And that's a great idea. Our next submission is from Silly Philly. We had a microbe. Here we have Thanatogen. It's a
Oh.
0/1 for a single black mana. It's a rare artifact creature virus. It has haste. Thanatogen must attack if able. Whenever Thanatogen attacks, put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. When Thanatogen dies, all modified creatures become copies of it permanently. Flavor text: the next leap in devolution.
So it's a 0/1 that has to attack, and when it attacks, it gives out a -1/-1 counter.
Mhm.
If my opponent wants to block it, they can, but then anything that's modified, anything that has become Thanatogens.
And then if they have a -1/-1 counter on them, they die
Oh. Oh
because
yeah. Yep. That's
they
true.
they become a 0/1 with
Hmm.
a -1/-1 counter on them.
Interesting. I didn't put that. I thought we were going to continue spreading, but
Mhm.
yeah, anything this infected just dies when this dies. Interesting. Looks very Meriden or Scars of Meriden looking art here.
Mirrodin gave us germs.
Yeah.
Scars of Mirrodin blog give us germs, and here we would have like the next evolution, which is viruses.
Virus are sort of like unliving. There's something weird about like a germ is like
Yeah.
a tiny living creature, but a virus is like,
Mhm. Viruses are, generally speaking, too
yeah.
small to like life can't be supported at the
Hmm.
smallness that they are. I am not a virologist,
Sure.
but viruses exist in kinds of like parasitic relationships more or less that
Hmm.
they live while they are in like a host and then spread from host to host as opposed to like germs which can live on their own.
Hmm. Thanatos or whatever is death, so it's just like a death virus. I guess if you block it right away, you lose the one creature that got infected. If the opponent wants to let this attack a couple times, how does that start to feel? They maybe start to target different creatures each time, and then all of them die when this dies. I guess if I'm playing the virus deck, I probably have some sack outlets and stuff like that to control when that happens.
And maybe I have some, talk about Shadowmoor Eventide, some of those,
Ooh.
like whenever a creature dies with a -1/-1, you put a token, or like you draw, different things like that.
Yeah, cool card. It has to do a lot of text to make its ability work, was maybe my hesitation, but I mean, it does something new and cool. So, it definitely passes that test. And it's an artifact, it has haste, so it hits those bonus points.
I'm still trying to think of a way that your opponent can end up with a Thanatogen that stays on the battlefield.
Oh, they have an anthem or something.
Yeah, an anthem, or maybe a lot of +1/+1 counters that stick around and everything.
Yeah.
Because there's worlds where that ends up happening, and then I don't know. It definitely is a scary card on the face of it, because it's like, how do I deal with this without it killing everything on the battlefield? And that successfully captures virus, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, cool card. Thanks, Illy Philly. Next up from Ash, we have Silicoid Accelerator, 2 red-blue, for artifact creatures Silicoid Wall, Silicioid. Silicoid. It's a 1/4, 4-mana, 1/4 defender. Whenever you activate an ability, if you spent energy to activate it, you may pay an energy. If you do, copy that ability, and you may choose new targets for the copy. It also has an activated ability itself. Pay an energy and tap it. Target creature gains haste until end of turn. With this card, if I had extra energy, if I activated this haste ability, I would pay 1 energy to activate this ability, but then I could pay a second energy to copy that ability and give haste to a second thing.
Yeah. Interesting to see energy here.
Yeah. The first ability here, I think, is inspiring. This is something like, oh man, I get to put this in a cool deck. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet, and I'm kind of okay with that. I'm going to have a bunch of different abilities, all kind of require energy, and I'm going to, I don't know, make something happen with that.
Yeah, and it does seem like an accelerator.
Yeah.
It is accelerating things by, you add more energy and you get more of it.
I wonder what a silicoid is.
So,
knowledge?
Within some sense. So, are you familiar with the idea that, like, so carbon is the basis of life in
carbon-based life forms? Yeah.
And there's some just general hand wavy, oh hey, don't you know, some of the chemical mathematics work out that silicon would also work. This card, Ash points out, is a 1/4, and 14 is the atomic number of silicon.
Oh, we do have knowledge here.
However, despite the alien life forms being silicon and everything, which is, I think, a thing that people who are into and around science fiction or the search for extraterrestrial intelligence and things like that, they might be loosely familiar. I would recommend, because this is a thing I didn't know, Angela Collier, or at A Collier Astro, she does a lot of YouTube videos. She's kind of like astrophysics Jenny Nicholson.
Oh, okay. There we go.
If that makes sense.
8-hour video. Let's do it.
These are shorter, but some of them. She's got a 2-hour one on Richard Feynman. She's got multiple ones on quantum physics and how people a lot of it's around hey, people have misunderstandings of some principles and ideas in physics and in kind of the association with physics. There's a great one, a particularly relevant one, on how all any given billionaire like wants you to think that they are really good at physics. Like Jeff
Oh.
Bezos, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, all these people are
Mm.
like, oh, I was studying, and they're all lying. I
All right,
but
we
they
get
want
some
this.
billionaire takedowns, and we learn about this video that you sent. The aliens will not be silicon.
It's about like, listen, if there is going to be life, it is going to be it's going to be carbon, or
Rip.
it's going to be like, I mean, it's either going to be carbon or it's not going to be even like on the dimensional, like it's going to be outside of any science we
Hmm.
have. If it's going to
Hmm.
be within any science that we have, it's going to be carbon. But at the same time, there is a lot of science fiction and even some fantasy, like in
Oh, hell
Discworld,
yeah.
the trolls
A
use
Discworld.
like silicon based brains.
Oh, okay. I googled it and I see that. Yeah, Masters of Orion. I've
Mhm.
never actually played that series, Masters of Orion. It's like
Or,
a star
Orion, I think.
Orion. Sorry, Orion.
Mhm,
Thank you. You could tell I only ever read that word.
mhm.
Like Orion's belt. Oh, okay. Now I
Uh-huh.
feel it's all coming together. His Silicoid is a race in that game, so maybe this is a Moo shout out.
I believe it. It is funny that the ability that you could copy here by paying extra energy
Yeah.
is pay an energy, tap, target creature gains haste until end of turn, or you can pay
Hmm.
2 energy and tap, and 2 target creatures can gain haste until end of turn, which,
Yeah.
like, if your
Yeah.
tokens maybe comes up, but it is not that's not my
Yeah.
number 1 ability. I want to be copying every turn.
I don't know. I was thinking through that too. Feels. I guess you could have this elsewhere, but this feels like something in the Energy Commander deck or whatever, where I kind of
Mhm.
want something that's a haste enabler that can stick around. And this ability to copy energy abilities isn't that threatening, so this card isn't that high heat. But I feel like
Mhm.
you could actually do really powerful things with it. And giving
Mhm.
two things haste at the right time is really powerful, even if most of the time is not really worth doing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I also wonder, like, okay, this is a silicoid wall and it's an accelerator. Is
Ooh,
this like a particle accelerator?
I don't totally know what that is either. But
Um, like a hole under Texas, or like CERN.
oh, okay. All right.
You build these very long tubes or these very, very long rings, and then you accelerate particles at very fast speeds, and you get it down to like, okay, if I have
Hmm.
one proton and then another proton, and they're being like slammed at each
Okay.
other. And you and I think, are old enough to remember when like the Higgs boson
Sure.
was
Yeah.
like, there were all of
The
these
cool thing. Yeah.
kind of mathematical, I always hate when I say mathematical equation, because like what other type of what other type of equation is there? But
Yeah.
there were all of these equations and all of this stuff that said, okay, this probably should exist. And
Hmm.
then here we can do these experiments using particle accelerators to say, oh hey, the result of this experiment matches our hypothesis of the math, which
Hmm.
is that's a great sign. If your hypothesis
Hmm.
and the math says that something should happen and it's never been seen before, and then you do an experiment and it's like, oh hey, wow, this means we're on the right track about our understanding of the like underpinnings of the physical
Hmm.
universe.
And so the Silicoids got there ahead of us. They built a cooler accelerator before we could.
Oh, because we're just using mana and they have energy, so they
Oh,
can.
I see. That's kind of cool. Like aliens using energy and the humans not using energy or whatever. That's like a good split.
Yeah, this hits at artifact. This hits
Yeah.
at haste.
Yeah.
This hits at some interesting ideas. I don't know that I'm like I'm dying to have silicoid as a type, but
Yeah.
if there's going to be that like space set that
Oh
we're
yeah.
getting
Yeah. So
later
yeah.
this year, next year or something, if like, and here's the aliens, but they're weird little
Oh.
like robot, bismuth sort of weird kind of like square cut aliens. They're like rock aliens. I'd be like, sure, they're called silicoids. Great. Why not?
That's a funny thing in the space set that we're getting next or this year. Will the creatures be type alien or will they have like specific creature types?
Mhm.
type alien is kind of a funny thing thinking about it, that like you kind of don't want to just like make all of your aliens type alien because that just homogenizes them.
I think type alien works specifically in like the Infinity context where like it's like little green men, like the aliens from Toy
Oh,
Story sort of like
yeah.
alien. Or if we are dealing with, hey, here's this wormhole and here's all the, they're Avon and merfolk goblins and humans and rocks and stuff
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
this side of the wormhole. And then the aliens are this kind of like weird other thing on the other side of the wormhole. And like, you can just
Yeah.
use alien to refer to, listen, it's not Eldrazi, but it's like, it's the other stuff there.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
we have, here's the cat people planet and here's
Gappy.
the green people planet and stuff, like I don't want like cat alien. Like I
Yeah,
don't
that
know.
is weird. Yeah. Cat alien. Alrighty.
Our next submission is from Larcent. It's Speed Reader. It's 2 red and a red for a 3/3 artifact creature, Gnome Archivist at rare, with whenever you exile cards from the top of your library, you may exile that many cards plus 1. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control from exile, it gains haste until the end of the turn.
I like this first little clause here. Whenever you exile cards from the top of your library, exile that many plus 1. Just like simple and clear why I want that. There's a growing number of decks that do like exile casting or impulse drawing or whatever you want to call that.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's a problem those decks have? Well, they can do kind of explosive chain things, exiling a ton of cards, but then the creatures all have to sit around for a turn. They just get board wiped. Oh, well, we can solve that too. When you cast things from exile, give them haste.
If we look just 3 cards earlier for another red 4-drop, that's a 3/3. If your Goblin Sculptor exiles the top 2 cards of your library and then presumably makes two sculptures or things like that.
Yeah, we're hitting. I mean, the last card also, the Accelerator, was also like a 4-mana, not explosive threat, but like a really powerful role player, like a thing that you want to throw in your commander deck.
Yeah. I don't know how this interacts with Cascade in particular.
Okay.
Because Cascade is, you cast this and exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less.
Yeah.
And then if you then exile the next card, do you is that just put on the bottom, or do you cast do you cast the first
Good
one
question.
that
Exile a till, yeah. Maybe you have to go 2 at a time instead of 1 at a time when you're like tunneling through. That's a good question. I like this.
This sort of like thankfully it's a Yume, so you don't have to. If an effect would be like, I'm just throwing away an extra card, it's like, no, you don't have to. I think you're right that this would be best played with a lot of Seek the Beast, impulse draw sort of effects. And a lot of those are pretty like strong and pretty aggressively costed for play. And adding an extra card draw to those, this is a fun card for kind of aiming at that sort of deck. I imagine there's some creature or artifact out there that just becomes absolutely wild. Some imprint thing that you can imprint like 2 extra cards too or something.
Yeah. 4-mana 3/3 is just pretty rough as a stat for like limited or whatever. But the ability to just combo up and or at least do like nutty things. Is this sort of the niche of gnomes sometimes? Like I think of at least like gnomes from Warcraft or like the crazy mad scientist inventor characters. So the speed reader here, you can imagine the pages burning as he's flipping through. Yeah.
You read House of Leaves?
I still have to. I haven't read it.
Spoiler for House of Leaves. One of the climaxes of that book, because it has kind of meta layers.
Yeah.
In the movie that the book is talking about, the main character ends up in this like infinite expanse or whatever, and it's like infinitely dark, and he just can't go anywhere. And so he starts reading this story and he goes through like any of the torches and the matches he's got until he like strikes his last match, and then he's reading through a page and then tearing the page off and like quickly like rolling it up and turning it into a little torch to be able to read through the next page until he tears it off, and then it's just like quickly trying to read through. And it's the idea is that he's reading the book that you are currently reading, and so you have this like associative effect. But just the idea of like in a dark room, burning through the page on the left in order to read the page on the right, and then quickly flipping it over and then burning it to
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
going. It's I really like that
That's the
image.
flavor I want with this card too. Yeah. Absolutely. That's super cool. Yeah. All right. Speed Reader. This seems like it would be fun in whatever cool commander decks it would go in. Definite thumbs up for this one.
Mhm.
Next up from Ignited Soul, we've got another 4-mana red card. That's a 3/3.
Nice.
It's got a little more going on. Quirek, Horizon's Quiver is 2 red-white, so it's Boros, not just red. 4-mana 3/3, Flying Haste. It's a legendary creature, Avian Archer. It has Heroic. When you cast a spell that targets Quirek, he deals 2 damage to any target. And then, if a creature dealt damage by Quirek this turn dies, you may exile target instant or sorcery from your graveyard. You may cast it until the end of your next turn. If a spell you cast this way would be put in your graveyard, exile it instead. All right, a lot to break down here. So we got just like a Flying Haste. Unlike some of the previous 4-mana cards that we saw, this is actually like a potent limited card on its own because it's 4-mana 3/2 Flying Haste, already very solid. And then a heroic ability, whenever you target Quirek, you get to shock something. And then it's got even more text beyond that. But yeah, we've got the Flying Haster that like doles out a shock or two as you combat trick it.
Yeah, this is a great reason to play heroic style cards. To play spells that are going to be targeting this, because then each spell you cast can be like a mini Snapcaster Mage, kind of. It can bring back an instant or sorcery from your graveyard as long as your opponent has creatures, or you might eventually start wanting to put tokens out there that you can just keep like storming something out by shocking your own creatures to be able to recast and then keep pumping Quirek's power or doing something like that.
Yeah, I have like a bunch of cards that just give like double strike or 2 power or, +2/+2 or something else like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could even be worth me shocking to death, or using the heroic ability to kill 4 of my own creatures so I can recast 4 of my own pump effects to deal, 15 damage with Quirek just directly to the opponent's face.
We just need a Manamorphose that targets.
Targeting Manamorphose, yeah. Now finally we're excited that like explore targets a creature when you make something explore. Oh, phew.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this feels like a brawl card on Arena. This is the deck. I build a deck around this. I'm trying to kill one person real fast with Quirek.
How do you feel about the shift from bird to bird person, which is I think what is implied by Avian as the new type?
Yeah. That's interesting. We're kind of splitting human and ape, right? There's a lot. I personally know some bird deck players, and I don't know that they would be excited by having access to fewer cards from new sets. Yeah, I'm not totally sold, I guess is what I'm saying.
If we had done it a long time ago, it wouldn't necessarily be like objectionable.
Yeah.
But as you say, like people who have it's whatever, bird commander deck with any number of because there's lots of legendary, we just had a new bird legend who's a bird person get banned in many formats. In the case of Nadu, I believe is a legendary bird person. So I could see if things had gone differently a while back, but I think as fun as this card is, the new creature type is like the one part that might be a small miss.
This is a super solid card mechanically. I think this is quite appealing and works well. Yeah, Avian, just not totally sold on it.
Yeah. This is haste, not an artifact, so we get one of the bonus points.
Yep.
Our next submission is from Alex Datahack.
Yeah, who's just on the pod for the Cube episode.
Oh, yeah. The card is Frostbite Outpost Ranger. It's a 2/3 for 1 blue and red. It's an artifact creature, Penguin Mech. It's a mythic.
Hell yeah.
It has mechs you control have first strike and haste, and whenever another artifact enters under your control, tap an artifact target opponent controls. With the flavor text, Frostbite would be damned if any of the killer whales would make it to the rookery. And now, a point of clarification here, which is, this is being referred to as a mech. And I think what mech means in this sense is mechanized infantry, not mech in the sense of mecha as like a
Voltron or something.
Oh yeah, like a robot that someone pilots.
You're saying that this is like a penguin in power armor,
right?
Rather than a tiny penguin piloting a 50-foot tall mega robot. Alex threatened to make a penguin card and deliver. Mechs you control have first strike and haste. So that affects itself. So this has first strike and haste. Whenever another artifact enters, tap an artifact.
So we do have one penguin card in Magic.
Oh no!
But do you know what it is?
Oh, the like fire penguin enchantment thing.
Curse of the Fire Penguin. The creature part of it is a creature penguin. So I consider when we say like introducing a type into Magic, we mean into like quote black border, like non-acorn Magic. And so I think this is introducing both penguin and mech, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah. Look at credit for both. Why not? Whenever your artifacts enter, I guess in a set that it has a lot of artifact creatures, if we're fighting like this mechanized war in the future, the cold battle and versus the killer whale robots versus the penguin robots, tapping artifacts when my artifacts enter might be pretty good. In an average Magic game, tapping your opponent's artifacts on your turn is not super relevant, or not likely to be. Sometimes it could be quite relevant.
I think if we still lived in a world where artifacts like turned off, like Howling Mine, it doesn't have a tap ability, but when it's tapped, it stops having its abilities.
Yeah.
Or I think Trinisphere is probably one of the biggest ones that actually does get tapped down sometimes in order to turn off the Trinisphere ability.
Yeah. What was it? Continuous artifacts? Was that the old name for it?
Like there's mono artifacts.
Yeah, Howling Mine was a continuous artifact. Yeah, mono, poly, and continuous were the original like designations for artifacts. You know what? I think that's a great pull. If we imagine a universe where like continuous artifacts are still a concept, this like mechanized soldier can go in and like disable the shield barrier, which then allows an attack, and like that makes a ton of flavor sense as well.
And whenever an artifact enters, so whenever it gets, hey, we got a new supply drop, came down from the, and then we get the ion cannon, it turns off the energy barrier, and then we send our...
yeah, that all makes sense. Yep.
How do you feel about Penguin? I mean, this leads directly into our previous question, which is bird too broad of a type?
I think if I had to run the bird fanatics that I know, if I try to empathize with their thoughts and dreams, I think that taking away bird people from the bird decks would be more of a loss than taking away penguins from the bird decks. I think the penguin appeal is pretty high. Yeah, but would the bird players want to claim penguins as well? I don't know. It's a good question. The joy of seeing penguins in Magic might outweigh the sadness of not having more birds for Castrol or whatever.
I do think penguins are an interesting space to be thinking about, specifically because we've gotten MOAs of different sorts over time and things, but specifically like penguins are a flightless bird with a pretty strong like flavor identity to them, I guess if that makes sense. Like they are, they swim through the water as though they are flying. They have like a connection to snow and also to like crossings from different places. And
Hmm.
we've got many different movies about different like cultures of penguins and different
Yeah,
things.
yeah. Yeah.
And so whether a given penguin card should be creature penguin or snow creature bird, I
Hmm.
think would be an interesting discussion to have like when you're designing a set or structuring it.
I like this card. Or something about that just like roided up penguin cyber soldier. It's just I don't know. It's so over the top that I'm back on board.
Mhm. This hits our bonus points. This is a artifact creature with haste, and it's
Oh yeah.
introducing one and or two, depending on how you count. I mean, mech could be an artifact type too. We,
Mm-hmm.
but I think in this case it is a creature type in the sense of mechanized infantry.
All right, great card. Thanks, Alex. Next up from Kern, we've got Tink, which is a red and a white for a 2/2. So 2 mana 2/2. Artifact creature, wind up soldier. So wind up is the cool new type here. It has haste, tap, as well as tap, put a charge counter on Tink. And then it has a different ability, remove a charge counter from Tink, : it gets +1/+0 and gains first strike until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Tink.
Yeah, got an artifact. We got haste. This one isn't a 4-drop. This one's a 2-drop here. How do you feel about just tap, put a charge counter on this?
I kind of like that. Yeah, I don't have anything that I can do right now. My attacks aren't very good, but I can charge for a turn, charge for another turn, remove both those counters, become a 4/2 first striker for a turn, get an attack in. I don't know, tick-tock, tink, something like that.
Mhm. It's kind of the opposite of exert.
Oh, funny. Yeah.
Exert, you are giving up next turn. You're
Mhm.
you're
Mm.
prizing the present over the future,
Yeah.
and this what I'm assuming is kind of an iconic ability for wind up cards, which is just
Yeah.
tap, put a charge counter on this, and then there's probably a rare that's like tap,
Yeah.
put a charge counter on all your wind ups, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
says,
yeah.
hey, as long as I don't need to be doing something right now,
Mhm.
I can really save up for the future. It makes me feel like a time spiral block really kind of
Oh,
hit
okay.
this across both like suspend and the thalids and the
Okay.
stockpile lands. Those like molten slag heap cycle of lands where you can, they're like mana batteries. I mean, honestly,
Mhm.
getting back to old fashioned mana batteries. If you play, uh, I mean, I know them mostly from Chandelar, but if you play a lot of like
Okay, yeah, that's
alpha
true.
through legends, sort of thing. Sometimes you
Yeah,
may.
we thought those are good for a little while when I was in middle school or whatever. Yeah, the mana batteries.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love charge counters. I think the charge counters are a good expression of wind up.
And then this at instant speed can get that like that plus power and first strike. So you once you get at
We don't
least
have
one.
instant speed. You're safe from that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally, yeah, activate only as a sorcery. You probably want some decent amount of charge on this.
Hmm.
I definitely feel like the first charge counter comes in handy, but at the same time, we got this haste. Do you want this as a blocker? Huh.
Yeah, I guess I'm generally not wanting to block with this. I don't know. I just kind of this paints like a picture of a set in my mind that I believe. I believe there could be other things that care about charge counters or care about wind up or whatever. So I feel
Mhm.
like this is like kind of a good deal on its own, and then it gets affected by a bunch of other stuff, which I don't know. I could just imagine that happen.
I do think this could have been mono red, even though
Yeah,
white kind of
probably.
helps
Yeah,
imply the like white kind of helps carry a little bit of the artifact part and the
yeah,
like saving up for the future part.
yeah,
But I think
yeah. That's
we
fair.
could arrive at this with red, or
Hmm.
if there was like this card in mono red, then we could have like an Archon that specifically,
Hmm.
bonuses different things in red and white, or maybe
Yeah.
instead of having a like tap all your windups get a charge counter, each windup does its own thing, and then you can remove, like
Hmm.
if Tink said, remove a charge counter from a windup creature you control,
Hmm.
it gets +1, like that it could give the +1/+0 and first
Hmm.
strike
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
other windups or something like that.
Oh, it could target other things like a mercenary from Thunder Junction.
Or the other windups can
Oh.
kind of
Oh.
like have that
Sliver share.
ability. So
Oh, okay.
they
Yeah.
could use, you can use your charge counters for different things, but each one
Yeah.
winds itself up.
I like that. Yeah. I got this is a little too complicated for that, but I kind of want this to be a token. Like I want to have like an army of
Mm.
tanks. I want to have like a whole bunch of little guys that are each like either pretty okay at attacking or they're all going to charge up. And I don't know. That feels like I'm a doll maker. I'm the clock master. I'm going to like set up my whole army to go, and then they're all going to go at the same time.
Sure. I am full throat, 2 thumbs up for wind up as a creature type.
Yeah.
I think that is so like one problem I have with robot is like, okay, well, what is this gonna like tell us about the
Hmm.
creature? And
Yeah.
wind up, I think, really tells us even more than like it gets more specific than like construct or other like artifact types. And I don't know, this might be appealing to me the way like artifact gnomes appeal to to some other people.
Hmm.
If we could just like take toy out and put wind up in, if we took almost any other, like just add wind up to the mix of artifact things, I think
Hmm.
that'll make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Wind up does seem really cool.
So it probably should come as no surprise that I am a fan of wind up, because I did introduce the wind up
Yeah.
mechanic into the you make the packs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is literally just also wind up as a hyphenate there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our next submission is from Red Bay. It's from Brad here. It's Rotor Turboski Whirlybird. It's 1 red and a white for a 3/3 rare legendary artifact creature helicopter with flying haste. Whenever Rotor Turboski attacks, another target attacking creature without flying gains flying until end of turn, and partner with Tow Mater.
From Cars. I think I saw the first Cars. I did not, but I was aware there's like planes. I want to say there's like
Uh-huh.
other movies in that kind of general Cars movie
It-
planes.
it's for babies who don't have taste. I think
rip,
is what the
rip the
planes.
babies, get burned.
You know,
No,
come at me, babies. If you're
Julia could take upwards of like 5 to 10 babies at the same time in a fight. All right, we got like some potent stats on this one. 3 mana, 3/3 flying haste, quite solid stats. When it
Mhm.
attacks, give another thing flying. And in the picture here, the Rotor Turboski has Tow Mater, the tow truck, in his little storage compartment, is ready to let Tow Mater airdrop.
And this is a 3/3 flying haste that also draws you a card, because it does search for Tomater when it enters the
Oh, partner
battlefield.
with, yeah. Okay, yeah. If we're in like a battle bond situation, absolutely. Okay, so helicopter. Helicopter probably would be a vehicle, but we're in the Cars universe where vehicles
Uh-huh.
don't need to be crewed. Like they just exist. They just
Mhm.
live their life. They have thoughts and feelings on them, which is, I don't know, just a funny way to get helicopter.
Okay, how do you feel about helicopter being introduced when we already have
Yeah.
Thopter,
Yeah.
which is, we call things like copters, we
Yeah.
another prefix, and then would add like copter in various war games or different
Sure.
things, which that and Thopter are both like just things we do in speech, and language is cobbled together. It
Yeah.
how it
Yeah.
works. But they're both misunderstandings of what the roots
Oh,
of these words are.
uh-oh, knowledge time.
Do you know how helicopter or ornithopter reach us, like, etymologically?
Uh No.
So helicopter, we think of as hele and copter, but it's helico and pter. The
Oh,
same
okay.
the
Yeah.
same root as like pterodactyl.
Yeah.
Helico, so spiral,
Helico. Yeah.
moving around in a circle like that, and pter. So it
Yeah.
has its wings are moving around and around and around.
Hmm.
Ornithopter is
Yeah.
what we get ornithopter, which of course so we have spiral wing and
So
bird wing.
so you're saying ornithopter is fine because that's like ornitho and pater.
Right, but we call it thopter as a
Yeah.
thing. Then
Yeah.
we've carved off the orna, but we kept the
Mm.
tho in the
Okay.
pater.
Okay. And we have like smuggler's copter. We're taking
Hmm.
the second half of helico and
Hmm.
we're moving that over into the pater part.
Hmm.
So yeah, okay. Missliced. Getting so much knowledge this episode. I would say Red Bay is clearly having some fun with this one, right? Like, I don't think helicopter is a great fit for a creature type. I guess we could have a world where we want to have subtypes of vehicles,
Hmm.
but we're mostly just having a fun time looking at some cars and playing some cars. I don't know if he had a sketch out for what Tomater would do. I feel like that's a whole meeting. You really got to nail Tomater. Rotor Turbowski, people it has his fans, but if you just phone that card in, that's fine. But you got to nail toe.
Yeah, this would be great for the Hasbro cube. You could
Oh, okay.
have
Yeah.
like a little toy that you can
Hmm.
have come onto the battlefield. Yeah.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Next up, we've got from Cord, Nth Draft Recruit. Nth Draft Recruit for red mana for a 1/1. Artifact creature, red panda. This is like a red panda with a gun. It's like our penguin, but for a red panda. And buckle up because we've got draft this card face up. As you draft this card, note how many cards you've drafted this round, including this card. It gains the abilities based on the total value noted for cards named Nth Draft Recruit. Total
Mhm.
value noted for cards named Nth Draft Recruit. So there's going to be a couple of abilities, but I want to like pre-break this down because it's kind of some new tech. So I draft this 5th pick. I write down Recruit 5 or whatever on a piece of paper. Then I draft a second one, 8th pick. So I write Nth Draft 8. And then after the draft is done, I total up that 5 and that 8. So I got 13, and that's what I'm going to look at on this chart here for what abilities I get.
Mhm.
So if I drafted this first, second, or third pick, it's trash. It's a 1-mana 1/1. But at 4 to 10, it has Riot, the old mechanic where you can pick between a counter and haste. If I've got 11 to 15th picks worth of recruits, I get Riot and Menace. And then if I get over 16 and above, I get Training, Haste, and Menace. If this is a common, I feel like 16 is not that impossible. Like if I have a 10th pick and a 6th pick, I get
Mhm.
to 16, which feels doable because who else would want this? It is uncommon, which makes it maybe hard to hit that 16. Or maybe not.
Mhm.
Maybe if 2 show up, you take both and you have 2 little monsters.
And the thing is, the difference between the 11 to 15 and 16
Hmm.
is Riot does give you the choice between the +1/+1 counter or
Hmm.
haste. If it's 16 plus, you have to pick the haste.
Oh, funny.
If that makes sense, you get the
Uh,
training,
yeah.
but training requires
Oh,
the
I didn't
like
even
creature with the
notice that.
greater
Yeah.
power. So I don't think that you're going to be sad if you have 4 of these and they total up to 16 plus.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not such an upgrade. Like, hey, that 11 to
Hmm.
15 is an upgrade on 4 to 10,
Yeah.
but it's not like the 16 plus is double strike, if
Hmm.
that makes sense.
That's true. Yeah. It's not like these cards are trash until you get a million of them.
Mhm.
Because I guess 1-mana 1/1 Riot, 1-mana 2/2 actually is pretty good. 1-mana haste, that's fine. So yeah, I guess it's kind of okay even if you just do it once. I didn't realize that. It's Riot or Riot and Menace or Training Haste and Menace, no Riot. Yeah, that's funny.
Mhm.
I kind of like this mechanic, and I'm kind of scared of this mechanic.
Hmm.
The excitement level is pretty high. If I look at this, I think that's really cool. Now I'm really savvy during the draft phase. If I'm thinking of throwing this in some cubes or even just playing this retail set, this feels a little hard to administrate because I'm imagining we're not doing this on just one card. Like, is each player getting a pad of paper to write down their draft pick places? It's a little intense. But then if you make this digital, now I'm back on board.
Yeah.
If the tracking is automatic, it kind of rules.
If I saw this as like, hey, this is going to be in like a canon Magic set, I'd be
Yeah.
like, I'm really interested in what this set is doing.
Yeah.
This has me on board. I will watch a lot of people draft this
Yeah.
online. And this is one of the most fun conspiracy-esque, like draft this card face up and note numbers sort of thing
Yeah.
that I've seen in a while. This is
Yeah.
making my like brain like spark about
Mm.
I wouldn't want like a cycle of of these in each color, I don't think,
Mm.
but I think maybe like one in red and one in white or some something like that.
Yeah.
Or even just this on its own and like, hey, we've come up with a bunch of fun drafting cards and this is one of them.
I think that's maybe where I'm skeptical of it, that situation where there's just one card that works this way. Because it's
Mhm.
like a lot of rules to synthesize in the middle of a draft. Like, I'm reading this card for the first time. I kind of want to ask my neighbor, but I shouldn't do that in a draft.
Mhm.
But if there are a couple more of those cards, or if there's just enough of this technology floating around where players have a chance of knowing how it works before they open the card, I guess.
Mhm.
I don't know. Because sometimes the draft matter cards, like, they confuse people a little bit. I don't know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Even though they're cool. There's a lot of potential.
And I think one of the things that really makes me more interested in this is
Yeah.
because it isn't here's a draft matters card that goes in your cube, so now you have to pay attention to any of the draft matters
Okay.
things that are in the
Yeah.
cube. Like this card is most fun in
Yeah.
a traditional booster environment as opposed to a cube booster
Yeah.
environment.
I agree.
This card is most interesting if, okay, how many of these am I going to see and how many other people have seen them and who is counting on this for
Yeah.
you like who might pick this up 5th pick or really wants to pick it up 8th pick or hey, we only opened one of these but it got picked up 12th pick or something like suddenly, and who's going to be wanting a red 1-drop and who you can see when somebody drafts it like there's enough upside in this particular one I think is well designed enough that it gives me again, if I just saw this in a cube or in a custom cube, I'd be like skeptical. If I saw this in a canon set, I'd be like, they are cooking with fire and I trust that this has been
Yeah.
refined to its and maybe that's a misplaced trust,
Yeah.
but it would make me very interested in the digital product that contained this.
Court also gave us the border busting version of the same card, which is,
Mhm.
I don't know, kind of cool. Maybe because it looks nice without the reminder text. It's kind of
Exactly.
yeah, a lot of technology packed into that one.
How do you feel about Red Panda as a type?
Court has an opinion on the Time Lord debate of like, can a 2-word creature type be a creature type? Court says no.
Mhm.
We're doing red-panda.
I think that makes a lot of sense because otherwise you've got red floating there and red already has rules text. And so then we'd have to differentiate between capital R red and lowercase r red.
Yeah. Red
And
creatures you control.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you ever get like a white red panda?
Hmm. Hmm.
Really makes you think.
All right. Yeah.
Our next submission here is from Juliet. It's
Yay.
Smokeser of the Headless. It's 2 and a red for a 2/2 artifact creature, Dullahan Knight. It's an uncommon with whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield. If you have exactly one card in hand, you may discard it and create a Dullahan artifact creature token copy of that creature with haste. Sacrifice that creature at the beginning of your next end step.
Dullahan is like a headless rider? Like a
Mhm.
mythology thing?
Mhm.
I mostly know from Final Fantasy. So I don't know where it's actually from.
I would expand Dullahan to like weird headless suit of armor
Oh, okay.
broadly.
Hmm.
If I was introducing it into Magic, but
Okay.
Dullahan's along with shout out to random Eventide rare
Hell yeah.
Nuclavy. Uh,
Okay.
um, there are in like Celtic and Orkney mythology
Mm.
a lot of just like creepy horse related like scary evil bad horse related things,
Hmm.
and the Dullahan is part of what we get like the myth of the headless horseman from.
Oh, okay. All right. So then the card here that has to enter whenever another non-token creature enters, not even just under your side. So if
Mhm,
my opponent plays something and you have exactly one card in hand. So these are the conditions. A creature enters and you have one card. If you
mhm,
do, you go full headless, you discard it, and then you create a copy of that creature that just entered, but
mhm.
only temporarily.
Until the beginning of your next end step, so
Your next end step. Oh, okay.
you will get a chance to attack with it.
Okay, so whether it's my opponent's creature or my creature, I'll get a chance to
Mhm,
attack with it or tap it or whatever. As I'm in kind of like the top decking phase, I can look at the card in my hand and say, this isn't very good. I can just hold on to it, wait for my opponent to play something big. They play something big, I get to basically make a temporary big version of that. Maybe that's going to break my board stall or whatever.
mhm.
Hmm.
Part of my idea here
Yeah.
is I don't know whether this would work as a mechanic to build
Yeah.
like a an archetype around or a creature type
Yeah.
sort of identity around. But the idea of, okay, you've exactly one card in hand and then do something. And
Mm.
so it's playing in a hellbent space, but not necessarily needing to have like your full hand gone,
Hmm.
which means some
Hmm.
hellbent enablers don't work, or maybe this plays alongside hellbent things.
Mm.
But the idea of you've got this one card, so that's like your knowledge, right? That you have your one card in
Mm.
hand and you're discarding it. So you're going headless.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You're kind of getting rid of your head to make
Yeah.
this creature.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of thing has potential. You know, you're also playing in a deck that has a bunch of exile draw, like we were talking about earlier. So I virtually have access to cards if I need them, but I'm only holding one card at a time in my hand, and I'm going to use that as currency for a variety of effects.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, that's cool. Smoke sir.
Hmm. I was trying to also figure out a way to give you a like totally manaless, repeatable like creature copying
Hmm.
generation and everything that is difficult to go like infinite with.
This is also like kind of discount fairy artisans,
Hmm.
which is like a commander card that's gotten kind of popular. That gives you a permanent token, but only one token at a time. So if you try to make multiple copies, you lose them. Here, you just always lose the extra.
If your opponent has, or we're playing commander or whatever, and I want to
Yeah.
copy your creature and then I want to copy someone else's creature, I have to figure out a way to get another exactly one card in
Mm,
hand, which
funny.
you certainly can do.
Yeah.
That's a thing that
Yeah. Clues or
cards
whatever.
and
Yeah.
decks,
Yeah.
or like a rummaging effect that the discard isn't a cost, I suppose.
Yeah. 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 It's cool card, cool art. Dullahan. Let's throw 6 Dullahans in some set. Yeah, sure. I can believe it.
And then when we randomly need like we want just like a suit of armor, and be like, yeah, let's make it a Dullahan. Why not?
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. What would it be the Dullahans that aren't knights? What other jobs can Dullahans have?
I think a lot of them would just be like just artifact creature Dullahan.
Yeah.
But maybe like
Uh,
soldiers
hmm.
or horrors, I think would probably be the other thing. You'd be
All
like
right.
Dullahan Nightmare, maybe.
Cool. Yeah, love it. Cool card. Next up from
Mhm.
Wobbles, we've got Bird of Prey. Uh-oh, another slice off of the bird pie. This is three red for a kindred artifact Klingon vehicle. It's a 6/5. So 5 mana, 6/5 Klingon vehicle. It has flying and haste, which is quite good. This card has hexproof as long as it isn't a creature. And then when this creature is crewed by a Klingon, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn, and it has crew 2. So I guess Bird of Prey, that's like the stealth fighter of the Klingons.
Yes. My Star Trek knowledge is not very much in terms of the like, these are the types of I almost said aircraft, but like spacecraft, or like much about the Klingons. I know like a Batleth, but Bird of Prey sounds right. Like, oh, there's 3 Klingon Bird of Preys, uncloaking over the
right in front of us
or whatever. Yeah. Kobayashi Maru ?
Oh, is that what that's from? Oh yeah, defenses. It has deflector shields and cloaking device. Yeah, so this is a stealth ship. Yeah. All right, yeah, we've got a Bird of Prey here. This is let's see. As long as it isn't a creature, so until it's crewed. I feel like that plays into the worst fears of a vehicle player. Because the worst thing to happen with a vehicle is after you crew it, it then gets destroyed. Here, the only time this gets destroyed is after you crew it. So it's like, But I guess it's a giant flying haster, so maybe that's why it's allowed to be shot at.
And from a flavor perspective, it's cloaked until it's able to attack, and then it decloaks just in time for aggressive action. I really thought we might see some artifacts that then created a novel like creature token, as opposed to being creatures themselves. And this is, I think, the closest we're getting in this challenge. It's a vehicle, but like it's like a kindred vehicle in order to be able to carry the creature type that way.
Yeah. I also love the like 1990s ass CGI that is in this picture.
It is.
I don't know. That evokes something for me. It's a good thing.
I think it's probably from the show, I would guess.
Okay.
Which that could mean this is actually a miniature from like the 1970s. I have no idea. I assume they would use miniatures in the original series, but I'm not an expert. If you have 2 birds of prey and 2 other creatures with crew 2, or at least 1 other creature with crew 2, you can crew the first one, and the other creature you have isn't a Klingon. You can crew the first one, and then the first one can crew the second one, right?
If I have a random grizzly bear and 2 birds of prey, and my opponent's at 8 life, that's what I want to do this, right? Because the bear gets in the first bird of prey, the second bird of prey gets in the first bird of prey gets in the second bird of prey, and the first bird of prey is a Klingon, so it activates the bonus from the other Klingon, and I can whack for 8. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you wouldn't be able to enable the other one otherwise. So yeah, that would be.
If I got 2 birds and just a bear in the bush, I don't know.
That's what Banjo-Kazooie is about, I think.
Oh, okay.
I do think, we talked about like, should things just be alien? Klingon is one of those things that like, if Worf and Spock in a Universes Beyond Star Trek set were just like alien warrior, alien, advisor or whatever, it'd be like, come on, that's not who they are.
Yeah. You kind of have to do Vulcan and Klingon. Yeah, that's a good example. They shouldn't be in the same commander deck or whatever. Or I guess if crew member deck maybe, but would they be like creature type crew?
Officer? I feel like get like an officer.
Okay.
And then create red -shirt tokens. Like
yeah, you don't want the red creature tokens because those are guaranteed to die. All right.
Our next submission is from Domri Cod. It's
a new submitter. New submitter.
Velocity Shard is a 1 and a red 2/1 artifact creature fragment. It's an uncommon with this creature and the creature it's encoded on have haste. And then an ability called Defragment. Sacrifice X mana value worth of fragments. Put a non-fragment artifact creature card with mana value X or less onto the battlefield from your hand or graveyard. Encode all sacrificed fragments on it. Activate only as a sorcery.
All right, so kind of a baseline. Let's say you might not want to do this, but just functionally, if I had another 2-drop in my, I could have this Velocity Shard in play and just say, I really need the other creature. I'm going to sacrifice this Velocity Shard. It's got 2 mana value. I've got a 2 mana value creature in my hand. I'm going to plop down my bear. And then this Velocity Shard gets encoded onto the bear. And now the bear also has haste. But what I'm probably trying to do is have like 2 or 3 fragments and then like a really big thing. And then I'm going to Voltron out like a 7-drop that has haste and lifelink. And whenever this attacks, create a blah, blah, blah. I'm going to get a bunch of abilities onto one summoned creature.
Did you know that Encoded already exists in Magic the Gathering?
Oh, yeah, from Cypher.
Mm-hmm.
Rip Cypher.
I mean, we got a new Cypher card last year in the Outlaws of Thunder Junction Commander decks.
That's great.
Cypher, of course, encodes instants and sorceries onto creatures instead of encrypting them. And here we have defragments that encode themselves as a way of reanimating or cheating things onto the battlefield.
Yeah.
This is an interesting, different way of arriving at like a Voltron sort of idea.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think this would be a very fun ability to play with. It has a couple concerns for me in terms of like just a retail mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is it's sort of color cheats.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
I could have, no planes in my deck and a giant angel and have no way of creating white mana. But I just like play 3 red creatures and then sacrifice my 3 red creatures to flop out a white creature.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is maybe the same sort of cheat that Reanimator decks have been doing for decades, where like, hey, I can't actually cast Atraxa, but I can put it in my graveyard and then just hit it with a black spell, and now I have an Atraxa. So it's maybe in that same zone, which is why I think it's still fun. It's a cool ability. It would be great to play with. But it's just like a little, as a mechanic, it's a little awkward to say like, yeah, defragment also means color cheating. And then I guess the other piece is 2 or 3 for wanting yourself for a bigger creature is kind of the same problem as like auras. Like I'm really double tripling down on like a big powerful card, and then I get blown the heck out by a removal spell, which again is like a risk, but it's just when if we're thinking like, do we want this to be like a major mechanic? That's my hesitation.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'm so tempted to be like, okay, what if this kind of championed the offering? Like what if the fragments exiled and then they exiled themselves until like the other artifact creature leaves the battlefield, at which point these come back in.
Champion the mechanic where you have like a little elf and then you have a champion creature that you sort of overlay onto that elf, which is cooler. But then when the champion goes away, you get your original one back.
Mm-hmm. In this case, it'd be if I had 4 of these little guys and I kind of defragment them to get like a cityscape leveler, and then you blew up if you blow up my cityscape leveler, it breaks apart into the little guys again. But then it's like, okay, well, we can keep. So you'd find some ways to decycle that, or like you exiling the thing and making a token or something. But
I mean, that's also like a point that happens in like Power Rangers or whatever, where a monster hits the combined creature so hard that it's like forcibly like split apart. Now they have to try to fight as like little separate guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the flavor's there. I think the art that's picked here is like a cool like football player robot that I could imagine, joining together with other ones to beat up some giant alien. So yeah, I'd really like this submission.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thanks for the card.
And it's haste and an artifact.
Oh, absolutely. Good point. Second to last here from Mono White border, we have Symbiote Talons, a red mana for a 2/2, artifact creature equipment symbiote. It has like a Carnage from like Venom and Spider-Man in the art. So we're dealing with that kind of symbiote. At the beginning of your end step, if Symbiote Talons isn't attached to a permanent, sacrifice it. I was wondering how our 1-mana 2/2 was going to be okay, and that's how. You really need to attach this to something on your turn. It has haste. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has haste. And this has reconfigure, which is the Neon Kamigawa mechanic. So I'm going to pay a red mana, attach to target creature you control or unattached from a creature. Reconfigure only as a sorcery. While it's attached, this isn't a creature.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's an equipment that it's mandatory for me to re-equip it every turn or else I lose it. But with the extra little thing, if it's the end of the game, I just need one more attacker, a separate attacker. I can attack one last time with the Symbiote Talons, and then it evaporates.
Mm-hmm. I could imagine playing this alongside like Bloodthirst sort of cards or things that want you to have this creature enters the battlefield better if you've damaged the opponent. And it's like, great,
Yeah.
my symbiote can get in there and get those 2 points of damage to then equip onto a stronger creature or something like that. And this is better than just a 2/2 haste artifact. You know, if you don't have anything, I'm like, hey, I can at least shock you. You know,
Yeah.
it's not ideal, but that is a thing it could do.
Maybe this is like a cousin of Dash like that, where like I have this kind of inefficient haste mode where I can just get some damage in if that's all I need. Or I've got this like more long-term mode where I play this, then equip it. Now I've got this equipment that's pretty good that I keep around every turn.
Yeah. And if there was like 5 symbiotes in a set, maybe, you know, 1 or 2 commons, 1 or 2 uncommons, 1 or 2 rares in like just red and black or whatever, I'd be like, great, this makes sense. This is like Living Weapon when it was back in New Phyrexia. This is just a different way of exploring kind of a fun little mechanical flavor idea.
Yeah.
I don't have any love for the symbiotes from Marvel particularly.
Yeah.
I wish the Venomverse is kind of an interesting thing from an IP perspective, but not from beyond that. But I really do like this card as a version of symbiote.
Yeah, they really like blew out the symbiote stuff in the last couple of years with Marvel, where there's like Agony and a bunch of other. I don't totally. I'm trying to remember. There's like Lasher, I think, is one of them. But anyhow, they all kind of look the same, which I think sort of robs the uniqueness of Venom.
We did a live stream a month or 2 ago over at Moonshot, which is us fixing the Venomverse because Sony has access to many Venom characters, but not Spider-Man or like any of the Spider-Man characters. And so it's like, okay, who can you assemble from like Sony Pictures access to parts of like the Marvel IP that aren't in like the Marvel Cinematic Universe IP? And so it's like just like the Venom movies, which don't have with Tom Hardy and everything, they don't have Spider-Man in them. And so my pitch was to borrow from another Sony Pictures IP. They own the film rights to Little Orphan Annie.
Oh.
And so
Little Orphan Agony.
Annie's symbiote is Antidote.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like Venom and Antidote. And so it was like a 3 Men and a Little Lady Christmas adventure to get her like across the city back to Daddy Warbucks. And I think while that would never be the case, that's what I would want from like you got to get funny with it, you got to get weird with it, and maybe that is what they're doing with the symbiotes. But I don't.
No, they're more just comics. Like cool killers. Yeah, they're not.
They're not that interesting. We don't need more of that.
I mean, they have cool powers or whatever, but I wasn't a fan. All right, we got one more. Who's that from?
This is from Xena Distraction Incarnate. It is Trapeze Artist. For 2 and a white-blue hybrid, we've got a 3/2 creature zombie acrobat. It's an uncommon. It has flying, ward, 2 generic mana, and acrobatics, which is a keyword with this text. When this becomes tapped, it turns 90 degrees clockwise. Untapping goes counterclockwise. It can tap and untap any number of times. Turning 360 degrees returns it into an upright position. It may attack, but not block whilst tapped. It doesn't untap during your upkeep. When this creature taps into an upright position, you gain 3 life create a creature token and draw a card. And then in incredible reminder text. Untapping isn't tapping.
This is funny. I like this. This is a good uncard. This is thumbs up.
Every fourth time you attack with this,
Yeah.
you gain 3 life, create a treasure token, and draw a card. But if you have like things like tap a creature you control, or if you can just keep twiddling this, but in the tap direction, you can complete the circle more times.
There, the land's like, hey, tap this land and an untapped creature you control. Get a mana of any color. Yeah, trapeze artist wants to fling around there. Cute card too. She's on a trapeze. It's a zombie. They're holding like one hand in their other hand, like they're flying around.
Very cute art. You just keep tapping this creature is fun. Like I want this to work. I'm rooting for this as an idea.
Yeah.
I think this does better than the what we might call the Q mechanic, the untap symbol mechanic. Is honestly what I think of when I see like white and blue hybrid. I think of like glamour spinners from Shadowmoor.
You would think of glamour spinners.
I've been working on my 2008 cube.
Yeah, not a ton to say about this. I think it's like sort of unlikely that you're gonna, get to do this because you've already hit your opponent like 4 times in the air. So you kind of need to like be cheating or accelerating this. And would you put 10 acrobatic cards in a set? That might be kind of funky to try to balance or whatever. But it's so cute. It's a very cute card.
If somebody submitted like, hey, we have to make this work, I'd be like, great. Let's see what cards we need to put together to make this work as an archetype and make it something so that you can briefly untap your creatures, but then they resume their previous tapped position so that you can block and then go back to like 270 degrees tapped or something.
It like makes sense. You're spinning in the airs, and that's why the card is spinning, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I'm skeptical that this would work, like, because you also can't have anything where you can just freely tap creatures, because you could just draw as many cards as you want or whatever. I don't know, but it's just adorable.
There is promise. There's the spark of the idea. Like, if this was the only card, a 3/2 flyer with ward 2, which is pretty sizable, for 3 mana that can't block once it attacks, but that just can keep attacking over and over again. That's not a bad card. I'd be happy to play this card. And if my opponent can gain a bunch of life, well, then I'll just keep attacking with this and I'll gain 3 life and create a treasure and draw a card. I don't know that we need to be creating a treasure in white blue hybrid, but like it's a big enough hoop.
Alrighty, cool card. I guess we had a bonus final half submission from James Dalton Bell, who said, my creature type was going to be witch, but I couldn't actually think of anything that is witch specific. So just pretend I had a great idea. Good job, James. Great idea. Great card.
So what's your favorite new type from this batch? And what's your favorite card from them? 18 cards. This is a lot of submissions. This is probably going to be a long episode.
Yeah. Let's see. I think a couple of my top ones, Familiar, Wind Up. That might be my top 2. I think there are plenty of other ones that are like contextual, like if Silicoid is, or Klingon or whatever is like a particular alien race, like that seems cool. Like Astartes or whatever from Warhammer Tyranid. I think those are my top 2, Familiar and Wind Up.
Yeah, I think those are also going to be my top creature types. I think there's promise in some of the others. If we get acrobats in every set, I'm not gonna say no about that version of Magic that just is like really into into tumbling as a performative art. Though I think actors and stuff are gonna supplant that maybe depending on things. But Familiar has a lot of merit to it. and it's hard to say no to a little wind up.
Yeah.
What's your favorite mechanical card from this bunch? Because there's a lot of good
There are a
ones.
bunch of good ones that
Mhm.
I was a big fan of. I think
I think mine is gonna be Unexpected Platypus. It,
right?
it's so simple and clean, and it just
Yeah.
hits in a fun way. You know,
Yeah.
that little flash creature, the death touch makes sense. This is a common. If flavor text, they don't do much. It does just enough.
Hmm. Yeah, I had a bunch of ones that I was really happy with here. I think I might go Speed Reader. That was the one that lets you exile
Mm-hmm.
extra cards when you exile stuff and gives you haste. This is just like the nice mellow like team player card that like makes a commander deck really go ham. Exiling twice as many cards, getting like a really fast army on turn 9 or whatever. Plus something about the gnome setting pages on fire.
Fantastic submissions, everyone, and I look forward to these types trickling in to other submissions throughout the year.
Oh yeah, yeah. Maybe we should also figure out like what's the first one that's going to appear.
Ooh, helicopter. I think every submission for the rest of the
Hmm.
year, we're gonna get a Klingon helicopter in every one of them.
Well, I love it. Klingon helicopter. I'm gonna lock in symbiote. I think symbiote is my best shot at seeing print.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the end of one challenge means we got another. Got February, short month here. What challenge do you have?
Yeah, so February is just 4 weeks. So we've got the 4 weeks design challenge. Design a card that can be cast one way for 2 mana and another way for 8.
Hmm.
So there's lots of things, shortlist. Think about awaken, adventure, evoke, kicker,
Hmm.
overload, buyback, flashback, entwine, cleave,
Ooh.
prototype, split cards, or, any mechanics that we didn't mention here, or, mechanics that you come up with.
Yeah, give us a new one too. Yeah. And then our bonus points here: roses are red, violets are blue. The two costs are different colors. You could do red and blue if you wanted to, or you can do some other mixture.
And the other bonus point is honey is sweet and so are you. Make some part of your card rhyme with itself. Rhyme with
Love it.
some part of your card. It doesn't have to rhyme with that same part. You know what I mean. Some part of your card rhymes.
I like it. The title, something else. Yeah, we got a lot of options there. That'll be due. We're giving you till the very last day of February, February 28th. And that's our podcast for the week. Hop on the Discord to submit your entry for the design challenge or to participate in a bunch of other stuff. I want to highlight Wrenchmar again. I think you were in the Wrenchmar playtest this morning. Is that
Yeah,
right?
I just drafted Wrenchmar literally right before this podcast recording. I drafted a blue green. It was originally going to be Bant and then blue green, and then I could have made that deck mono green even. That was really focused around Call of the Beast stuff with some interesting like counter mechanics. So
Alrighty,
Wrenchmar
yeah.
was pretty fun.
Wrenchmar, you could just listen to those episodes on that, or you can hop in the Discord. I think they're trying to do like at least a playtest draft every week. You could just do the draft phase. I think sometimes they try to get some playtest games in.
Yeah, it looks like some folks were playing games in the other voice channel while we were recording this very pod.
Yeah. So hop on for that. Do you have anything you want to tell people about?
So the game that I've been working on, which you can listen to the Juliet and Tim
Yeah.
episode about, that is going to release literally the tonight of the day that we're recording this, so that'll be out a few days before you listen to this. You can catch that on Itch.io, mousewifegames.itch.io.com.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the Princeton winter vacation game that's coming out. But February is the month that I do a lot of research for other projects. And so I will say in advance to check out the Moonshot Network's Patreon at patreon.com/moonshotnetwork,
Yeah.
where we should have another kind of deep research episode coming out on a very fun and extremely politically relevant topic. So
Oh,
I will highlight that's going to come out, and then we'll put the announcement out when it actually is. But you can
very
find that
cool.
at patreon.com/moonshot network.
Awesome. If you need to reach either of us, Discord is the way to do that. I'm Tim F. Riley there, or on Blue Sky. I've been posting a little bit there.
I'm at Folly Persist on Blue Sky as well.
And thanks for listening.
And always remember, there's always space for something new.